Hello everyone, my name is Deli and welcome to my channel. Today we have a topic request from Twitter here, which is now displayed on the screen. I'm going to be honest and say that I have engaged with this topic several times in the past, here and here. It seems that it's an ongoing topic that never truly dies because most of the topic is rooted in semantics of the word value. I hope this is the one and only time that I will publish a video on this topic. People have seemed to bounce back and forth between the two meanings. I do not blame them at all because at the end of the day, it is your hard-earned money. Everyone's concept of 1 hour of work is not the same as someone else's. As we navigate both definitions, I will play both sides and discuss why each one is equally as important to the other. At the end of the day, what we must nail down in this discussion is the fact that games, or our hobby, is getting more expensive as we perceive it to not be worth the extra $10. Now, I will say that there's no price parity across the board, so while it is only $10 here in the US, it is about 53 reals in Brazil. What does that mean to us? Well, we take that Brazilian real into perspective here by saying that the minimum wage, according to agenciabrazil.br, is equivalent to about 98 cents. So let's round that to $1, right? While $10 is about an extra hour's worth of work for the average US worker, it is about 5 extra hours of work for the minimum wage worker, or it is an entire day's worth of work and more for the daily minimum worker in Brazil. That right there is a completely valid argument and should be something talked about inside the worldview. But with that information being presented, we are going to isolate ourselves back into the US because my sole perspective is only that of $10. Personally, I find it hilarious how this is seen as expensive, since it's honestly kind of mind-blowing how games have managed to stay so cheap. The only reason this is perceived as a steep price for me is because it is compared against ridiculously low or even free games. Obviously, this community does not have other hobbies, because if you compare this kind of stuff to traveling, partying, gambling, photography, shopping, or collecting, it is ludicrous to suggest that it is worth so much discussion. I have seen gym memberships far more expensive than PlayStation Plus. And all of those previously mentioned hobbies are usually on special occasions, so they're not available every single day. Personally, 2 hours of time to enjoy a game for months or years to come is an exceptional payoff, and even then, somehow, people feel that they're being scammed. I think gaming is truly an amazing hobby, and I don't think that we've been in a better position for a sheer range of gaming that has provided us this decade. I don't want to come on here and defend it nor condemn it personally. I don't really care either way. I am fine with them charging whatever they deem their product is worth. If I do not agree with them, I won't buy it. It seems strange to me to get bent out of shape over this simply because I don't believe that anybody should have anything on release day. I'm willing to wait, and I don't have an issue with being a few weeks or even a few months behind the spotlight. That's the consumer in me, and I believe that exercising the consumer privilege of choice is also very, very important. It's rarely a situation where you're forced to buy a game in one way possible. There are a few games out there that come to mind, like Star Citizen and Escape from Tarkov, where there really is only one way to purchase the product. With the other 99% of games on the market, there are a plethora of ways to purchase games that include different platforms, different storefronts, a variety of brick and mortar stores, along with third-party sites and resellers. Majority of the time, it's fair to say that the $70 price tag doesn't stick around for more than a week or two. If you cannot find a sale quickly, then there's always an option to buy a second-hand from the used market. I think that with that information being presented, the $70 price tag only pertains to people who want to have things immediately. Now, the other side of the coin is that these people perceive games today's release in a state that are undesirable, unplayable, or fall well under expectation. This is also another situation where most games that release is not only worth the price they're asking, as noted from the second definition of the word value, but they do release with the full content, as denoted from the first definition of value. The problem arises when a consumer has a preconception of an unfinished game. The only games that would qualify for this category in recent memory would be No Man's Sky, Balan Wonderworld, Battlefield 2042, Fallout 76, Colonial Marines, and Cyberpunk 2077. Frankly, I think that for a decade worth of games, which is about 6,000 games between the Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation, around 10 games being released unfinished with clear signs of missing content is honestly a pretty fair deal. Obviously, in a perfect world, there wouldn't be a single game that is missing textures, or single-player content, features, or even playable components like multiplayer. At the end of the day, the point I'm trying to make is that these handful of games do leave a very bad taste in the mouths of consumers, but I also think it's extremely silly to have these select few games be representative of the entirety of the industry. Now that you have our consumer point of view laid out on the table, or personally my consumer point of view laid out on the table, let's talk about the other side of the discussion that I must consider. As someone who has worked in games and inside the game industry and has a lot of friends who are currently working on large AAA titles, I can confidently say that games are much more expensive now than they were 10 years ago. Let me get it to as short as possible, right? The number of developers on large-scale games, AAA games, have increased with games becoming bigger in terms of content. When I say content, I don't necessarily mean gameplay content as you would normally consider, but more like asset content. Essentially the stuff that my fellow developers have to produce. Those 2 points do not lead to lower game prices. That is for sure, and it must be that way. With how the industry is moving, there's a lot of content that needs to be produced, and it's not being able to be produced at the rate that it was 10 years ago. Previously, in the retro generation of the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, most development cycles would be around 18 months with budgets of $20 to $30 million. If you fast forward to the current generation, we have doubled or tripled that budget per game while also doubling or tripling the development time for said game. It's astronomical now to produce a video game, and it's not unheard of to pour $10 million into marketing as well. I think that the rising price of video games do reflect this. I would also like to add that the high production costs hinder risk-taking and video game innovation. I present to you a problem here, right? Production values have risen to a level that games are starting to cost $30 to $50 million to produce. You double this amount to get the true cost to a company by the time they promote and manufacture the product at a mass level. At this level, companies cannot afford to take chances on defining new categories in lieu of having that product not hit targets as projected. If a product has that much volatility at launch, it is easily shelved for something that can and will hit projected target numbers consistently. That is the dilemma I have as a developer, having firsthand experience inside the industry. I am more than willing to pay $70 for a video game because I understand the labor behind it and what it means to support something that is so massive in scale. As a consumer though, I do feel that I cannot support $70 products regularly if games that I'm interested in release on a monthly cycle. I do feel that the cadence of current releases is spaced out efficiently enough for me to continue to enjoy my hobby. I also do think that the holiday season is a little bit more daunting, as 2 or 3 releases will end up totaling to $200 very easily. This is much more than the budgeted monthly release that I think is acceptable for myself. I will also add that not everyone can or will buy a AAA game every single month. I think that this is something that people are also very cognizant of when discussing this price point for video games. Either way, this immediate value of a product is only impacting those that are buying in such frequency that is noticeable. If you're a consumer that buys a large-scale game once every few months, I think that $10 is negligible. If you're a consumer that is buying in a frequency of 1 or 2 a month, then it's something that can definitely add up over the year, especially if you're like me and have played around 25 games this year at that price point. Anyway, that's it for the video, so thank you everybody for watching, interacting, or enjoying the video. I hope you enjoyed it anyways. Please comment down below if you want to chime in on the discussion, and I will definitely do my best to reply to everybody. Again, thank you everybody who watched this video, clicked on a link to interact with it, or whatever it may be. I really appreciate that. My name is Deli, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.